year. Marcia Cohen, you are the fifth in the line of 6 exhibitions. Congratulations to you for winning the award. Carter Foster from the Whitney Museum came down and did the judging for the 2nd year, and she was one of the winners along with Matt Hafner and Maria Artemis. Maria's show comes up next. They've all just done an incredible job having the stipend, having the studio assistant. Maria's in the audience. Hello, Maria. Has given the artists that little push to really be able to do the best work, and they've all come through. Thank you, all the artists, and to the Laureate Foundation. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. I'm going to read some of her credentials. I shortened it quite a bit, or you would be here all evening. She received an MA in painting and drawing from the University of New Mexico in 1974, a BFA in painting and drawing from Wayne State University in 1972. She currently is a professor at the Savannah College of Art and Design here in Atlanta, and she was a professor from 1975 to 2006 at the Atlanta College of Art. She's won many awards, including this Working Artist Project grant here at MOCA, but Paths to Creativity, a residency at Azores Archipelago, King Family Foundation U.S. Cultural Exchange Fellowship, the Georgia Women in Visual Arts, Southern Arts Federation, National Endowment for the Arts Regional Fellowship, Carnegie Mellon Faculty Enrichment Grant, Faculty Research Grant from the Alliance of Independent Colleges of Art, the Tamara Institute of Photography in Albuquerque. She's in numerous permanent collections behind the museum, the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, MOCA GA, the Hunt Institute for Botanical Documentation at Carnegie Mellon University, the Atlanta College of Art Artists Books Collection, the Paul Jones Collection at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, the University of New Mexico Museum in Albuquerque, United States Information Agency in Washington, D.C., the Tamara Institute of Lithography in Albuquerque. Solo exhibitions. This goes on and on. I may stop at solo. Site specific. This exhibition, Unseen Color, Calabasas Fine Arts in Atlanta. 2005 and 1998 exhibitions at Studio 859 here in Atlanta, the Marshall Wood Gallery, the Botanical Gardens here in Atlanta, the Delaware County Community College in Nega, Pennsylvania, Naxos Contemporary Arts Center, Georgia State University. These are all one-person shows. The Atlanta College of Art, Chastain Arts Center, the Atlanta Art Workers Coalition, for all of those who remember that, and the Atlanta College of Art Gallery. Marcia, it's an incredible show. Thank you so very much for doing this work.
Can you hear me? We're trying to work with our acoustics. First of all, I personally want to thank the Lorenz Foundation and Annette Skeleton from MOCA GA. This is a vision for a museum that is for artists in Georgia, which is kind of an anomaly, and we're all very happy that we have this for ourselves and for MOCA. I want to thank the staff at MOCA, particularly Lisa Thrower and Tommy Staff and Martha. So many thanks to all people behind the scenes here at MOCA. Important, and she's not here tonight, is one of the big, wonderful, fantastic things that happened from the fellowship was the studio assistant, Tiana Brown. She finally was able to take some time off with her family. So she sends her wishes, but she was behind the scenes in many dimensions of the show, so I wanted to make sure that she gets a very special moment, and I'm sorry I can't share her with you tonight. And there's also important to me are some people that I want to thank, and then I promise I'll jump into the talk. And that is, I wanted to thank so many artists and friends in the Atlanta community, because this fellowship, which to me was quite extraordinary, it was very competitive. And I think I have about 90% of my friends here who also applied, and that was really challenging. I know how I feel when I get things, but I have to tell you that so many people said to me, you really deserve it. And I'm so touched by that. I almost started crying here, but I don't think I would say that, but I just think so many people that said that, I just can't thank you enough. So I'm now going to start talking a little bit about the work. I think when you have an artist talk, it's not a prepared lecture to talk about what you might be thinking I'm going to offer in terms of some depth and scope of, I don't know, whatever they're thinking about the color, but I would like to more or less talk a little bit about my engagement behind the scenes as an artist. And I always want to say, you got to thank your mother, and by that I mean too that much of my study and enthusiasm for color came really in the classroom. And in the classroom I had over 30 years at the Atlanta College of Art, and I want to thank them for all the support and the grants over the years. And then more recently, now at SCAD Atlanta, I was a recipient of the Presidential Fellowship that enabled me to travel. And I want to talk a little bit about that, the interface of the travel and the use of, right here, the journals and the schedules, which are very important to me. Maybe you had a chance to see some of this, but I think it's important to start here. Can you hear me okay? Is that good? These journals are really just a few of what I do during the course of working. I guess it's the best way to accommodate a lot of nervous energy. And I developed a way of working where I work on all loose sheets of paper. And one time, I'll get inspired and ramble a little bit about artists that inspired me. And one in the South was the work of Walter Anderson from Ocean Springs. And I saw in his drawings, he worked on typing paper over and over and over again. And I think, I don't know, at the time I was working on my botanical project, so you begin to see how work interweaves so much with earlier thoughts, and you follow through with that. So all these books that you see are all done on loose sheets of paper that I then bind myself with a little thermal binding hardback book thing. So sometimes if you see, gee, where do you get a book of Xerox images of color photos charts, these are all things that I bound myself. I want to maybe not, it's hard to go in any order because the work is done over a course of a number of years. And even though when Carter Foster from the Whitney came to my studio, which was an amazing opportunity, and I have to say he really got it. He saw that I was working in very disparate styles, methods, attitudes, but it was all about color in some way, and he got it, and it wasn't like, the poster child for ADD. It was really about being able to, and that's where most people see the work, they go like, wow, that doesn't look like your work. I go like, well, what does look like your work? So I don't work in one particular style or method, and I think, I don't mean to do that, but and I know Mary Park's here, I told her that it happened when I was in school. I noticed that every easel I put up in the painting class was completely different than the painting that preceded it. But the journals and the notebooks are the kind of the glue that I have ideas far in advance of when I work. So this is an energy that is very consistent. And I think I did what I guess you call artist books even before there was such a topic of artist books. And so we're only seeing another little piece of that information. Maybe I'll speak about this book right here. Last summer, and I used my fellowship to fund a residency that was very unusual. I was on the waiting list for 3 years, and I went to the Azores. The Azores are an island. I had to get a globe and then find it on the globe. it's in the middle of the Atlantic, it's very isolated. And one of the processes that I had been doing also in Europe, when I've been at conferences, international conferences, speaking, or in the case of my presidential fellowship at SCAD, I took coursework in the European color system. But I learned from many colorists in Europe that particularly Jean-Philippe Lemclos, they do this process called color geography, and that was very interesting to me, where they pick up pebble dash and little things, and like many artists, we all do that. But this was an opportunity to do it and think of a palette. And there, you can research this yourself, and his idea is called geography of color. And that's something I had been doing at many boxes. We only had so many vitrines. So I think what you can see here are things that I picked up on my daily blog. This isolated island, all the work against this wall, and the blue spot is work that I did last summer. And that's all one contained element. And I think you can maybe appreciate some of the lighting and the different spectral qualities. But works don't exist in a vacuum. In this work, I have also been inspired and looking at the actual clinic outside of Stockholm that Rudolf Steiner, it's a clinic where terminally patients go, and I know Kathy's here. How do you pronounce it? Yarna. In Yarna, the town of Yarna. I didn't know that one of the teachers that I had on the summer program, that he was responsible for painting many of these murals that are very in the Steiner, Rudolf Steiner feeling and spirit. He's well known for this kind of wall painting. And he took me to the town of Yarna after the conference when I gave my paper last summer. And then when I came back from Atlanta, I was ready to go to the island. So apart from these rather spectral element and illusionistic element that I felt I saw outside my window looking down and out into this phenomenal atmosphere, that is what is, I should say, embedded in this work. So these collages in the corner, these were like making a color bar of every color. I call it the difference between day and night. And I just made like a barcode of different colors. But in that environment, it was so textural, and the walls were all sort of pieced together. I didn't glue them together, I just sort of taped them and let them feel a little bit of their freedom in the frame. And then when I came home, I just put a dab of glue. So that's why you'll see them all kind of pieced together. And they were the first thing, more or less the first thing I did to get a start of seeing the color, making a mark, and again, just responding to color in the open atmosphere. To me, that's the most, I always say to my students, your most important teacher, it's not me, it's nature. And that is really the truth. So the more you study nature and observe it, then I think you will really have more, I think, the depth of what you want to aspire to when you are interested in working with color. These are very straightforward, but you know, chance favors a prepared mind is a favorite saying of mine, but it's also a saying that happens in meteorology. And some of my friends know that I studied meteorology very briefly. Because I'm afraid of storms, so they also know that. It's kind of strange like that. And so this was a series that I did, and then I took all these home. I didn't really look at them, and I didn't see them really until I framed them for the show. But this palette and this box and the kind of attitude that happened from this island is where this work is. This cyanotype that you might see, which is the sun print, I actually did the glass in here, which was at once not anchored down in the journal. The glass is what I placed on the cyanotype and then made a blueprint from there. If we walk across here and look, and again, I worked on this series, which is called Color Atlas Blind Spot. I have a kind of portfolio of photographic work that I work on, and I relegated that all to this topic title called Color Atlas. A lot of times when I use language like that, I'm also quoting people that I like very much, like Eric Richter. He had this massive archive of reference points. So you're seeing a lot of different things fall into place as we go. I worked on this series for quite a while, and recently just finished the last one. And of course, there's no more Polaroid except for half of my refrigerator. As probably a lot of photographers. I'm a closeted photographer, I guess, but or my inner photographer. But in my background, I did a study with Beaumont in the history of photography and had this depth appreciation and love photography very much, and always take photographs. But this really involved a couple different processes. I have a lot of vintage color blindness tests, and if you've ever seen them, I have Rorschach tests also, so that may eventually be a series that I work with. But the color blindness tests are very beautiful. They're dots and they're silk screens. They're very delicate, and I took slides of them with Kodachrome, also something that's disappearing. So my archive is all in Kodachrome slides. I took slides of these, of the color blindness test, and then we used a little device called the Daylet Junior, which is like this black plastic sort of machine, I guess, but you just plug it in and it's got a few filters. You put your slides in there, and then you have a package of Polaroid film inside of that machine. So you put the slide in, and then you press a button, and you decide on how you want your lighting after you fry so much Polaroid film. I told Mrs. Rower I had to put myself on a Polaroid diet because there was so many Polaroid shots going by the wayside. So what you're seeing is a very highly manipulated spectrum, if you will, of my choosing. And as I did that, I began to realize that it started to look more very much like a neo-impressionist painting, which probably was influential when I first was inspired by color blindness tests, just to look at them. But I did other things like make a sandwich of slides and then expose it over and over and over again. Very trial and error. No, not taking notes, but it was just a matter of if I liked it and it seemed to fit into these compartments. So that's a little bit some of the history of the color blindness work. I want to say for a moment about the frames. If you look at some of what Seurat did in his framing, he was very modern in his thinking about molding at the period in 18-something, late 1800s. There were very rich and sculpted gold and gilded frames around that period of paintings. But Seurat, who died in his 30s, and after just a few very major paintings and a tremendous outpouring of work, he wanted white and very sleek, almost modern molding on these paintings. And I had taken note of that, because if you go to Chicago and you look at those paintings, the painting Le Grand Chateau, you might wonder, why is that big molding on there? But that was his original wish. And that came on and off in the course of the 100 years or so that painting's been owned. That was also a little hidden agenda in the framing of that. And I have to say, one of the reasons I enjoyed my conversation with Carter Foster so much is he said, well, Degas did that too. And so he was there and understanding so much of that. When you see a Seurat retrospective, you will see that when the paintings that are owned, there'll be these beautiful white frames. And I think that that's the choice for some of the presentation that runs throughout the show. And also the framing as a device finds its way in many of the paintings as well. I think that maybe it's a good time to talk about the work in the center. I'm just going to kind of roll right through this.
Excuse me. I'm going to be right behind you with this.
On several grants, can you still hear me good music? On several grants that I was awarded, the most particular one that was astounding to me and very, very helpful and really the trajectory for a lot of work was from the King Baldwin Foundation U.S. Cultural Fellowship. And I think there are many people in the audience that are also recipients of that award. So again, very competitive, and all your friends are applying for the same thing. So that fellowship realize a dream, and that was that I went to the archives in Weimar of Goethe, whose color theories I had been studying for a long time and very influenced by, particularly in my accessorizing of my clothing. And so, you take what you need from me, okay? But, of course, his color theory is very, it is kind of like it is about so much of looking at light and dark. Hence, most people know of all his literature and during that period, but he worked on a color theory, Goethe did, for about 40 years. And that he considered it his greatest work because he was this natural scientist, but there's an amazing archive in Weimar. And of course, when the curator saw me, she knew she had a black wire because, he has all these black and white patterns. And, she let me in after hours. I think she was worried. Not far from these trips I made from Weimar was Dessau, and then also to Berlin, where I could immerse myself a little bit more, not like a deep scholar, not like somebody as grand as Clark Poling, although it was great to talk with him before he left, to California over the years, having a nice relationship with him to talk about the Bauhaus. But my opportunity to go to the Masters' homes, which were recently restored in, I think, 2002. So this is a great year for the Bauhaus because it's the 90th anniversary, and a lot is going on in Germany related to that. I made several trips to the Bauhaus Masters' house. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the home of Kandinsky and Klee and several other, I'm going to kind of run out of names really fast, I apologize in this lecture. So I got a few. But those homes were called the Rainbow Homes, and inside the homes were like 125 different colors, although I talked with somebody else who's at Duke, and they said it's pretty ersatz. So you can, you do what you want. But the way the colors were is like a turn in I'm going to use the red language, I can tell, but you'd have a wall, and then you'd have another wall, and instead of that just being by the shadow, they would paint that area, that angle, a different color. So hence, everywhere you went, it's subtle, but there would be about 125 different colors circulating through these homes. And it was incredible, it was beautiful. So I photographed a lot. In the far corner is a journal of some of my digital images. Now, my friends know that when they have old equipment, Mac Classic, an old anything, I take their old printers and so on and so forth. And I used a printer that actually Joy Wasson and Liz Troop gave me, and it didn't seem to have some of the colors in it, but that was perfect because it seemed to remind me more of what I saw and liked about very older color images of Moholy-Nagy. So when you look at some of his color photographic work. So again, you see these turning in and out in all this work. But this work was really more about being able to study color and shadow and do it in a way in my studio. At the end of my, when I had my show at Hallenwald in 2005, I got a Fulton County Arts Council grant to go to Cambridge for the first time. I sort of have my own little private Idaho where I live, plus the rabbits, and so I have a lot of privacy where I work, but I took up a great opportunity. Catherine Mitchell was encouraging me to go to the Cambridge, I really like it, and as did many friends. And so I went to one of the Five and Dimes and got some white poster board. And I just wanted to study something where the light was, again, referencing all these angles and the shadow play. And I pieced everything together with tape and just kept going. And that's how I started in 2000, it was the end of 2005. And then slowly, because I'm also beside my inner photographer and my inner woodworker, and so I started to do these buildings. And then, lots of sanding and shading off a little bit here and there. And sometimes the relationship to me was a little bit funny. Larry Anderson said to me, I think you probably had a good time doing this show. And I know he was right, but like to me, this was sort of a flat iron building, but you have to enjoy looking at shape. And some of these parts move, and I, would pull them out. And then sometimes it was just an exercise for myself to enjoy about colors, loose, and chroma and value and all those language that I had trouble with. But mostly being able to see how things could move in lighting and enjoy working with some beautiful colors. And I know there's more architectural things I could say about this, but I wanted to also point out something very important. I tried to make some wall text so that everybody could walk into the work a little bit. And that is that very early on when I started teaching design, and I admit teaching for me is not, it's not casual. The dialogue that goes on in the classroom is almost at times, and I know many of my students are here, almost at times collaboration, because even if you were to walk in the hallways at SCAD right now, you're going to see an idea that I was thinking about with the gorgeous interior spaces at SCAD, the color, and the students did these amazing works. And I am freshmen, and so they're collaborating. And at the same time, with this, I go back to some other origination points, and that is, I became very interested in Friedrich Freudel, who was considered the father of kindergarten, and at the same time looked at Montessori. They weren't called toys, they're called apparatuses. There's also another teacher of mine here, Suzanne Foster-Fitcher. I think I saw Suzanne here, and Suzanne knows that in the early 70s, when I studied with her at then it was called the Atlanta Art Therapy Institute, many of these models for thinking about looking at ways to look at color as well as other dimensions. These earlier references as well. But at some point in the 80s, I wanted to investigate a little bit more Freudel and his understanding of how basic shapes were almost like teaching a mysticism to children about circular elements that you throw the ball out and it's like the child throwing out the cosmos. I mean, it sounds great. I'm not an expert on this, but it was just very much made my head swim. And then we know that when I was talking to Cohen about this, that Frank Lloyd Wright in his studio has those they were called gifts and occupations. And I have notes in my journal where I can speak about what gifts and occupations mean. But many of the times where play is more than play, and I know there are other psychologists here that will bear this out, but it's more than play. It's really how we learn, and there can be very complicated math and other perceptual elements woven into that. So partly this is play, but it also was a visual exercise for me and a way to examine some very saturated color choices and have that work as part of the show. When I came back from the Azores, I had 4 campuses stretched already, but I had these campuses built in 1988 after I saw the last work of Vincent van Gogh's, his work in Arles, because he worked with this dimension called the double square, which is a certain kind of seriously stable landscape idea. But I couldn't get the paintings to work over and over again, no matter how many years I tried. So there's many ghosts of the lives of other paintings. I did very serious editing in the studio. I didn't edit a single thing. Everything, and then Lisa can bear this out, everything that was brought here went out the way it was supposed to, and it went out because the editing was so pared down way before I got here, although if you think something needs to go, you know. But these 4 paintings came because I had developed this underpainting on here that is more traditional. It's linen, kind of a rabbit skin blue. I say that kind of because it's a more current rabbit skin blue. And then I used a very heavily coated oil-based gesso, and that had a cure for a very long time. I came back from the Azores, which that whole experience was like looking out a window into a completely isolated world surrounded by water and atmosphere. Weather changed 4 or 5 times a day. Sometimes I thought the day changed. But I think you can see the relationship between these two, and they were also about, sometimes I'll have other psychological ideas about, piercing through space and islands and shattering and framing. And framing, as we know, in painting is a very traditional device. I had also read about an illusion that happens when you exaggerate the grain of wood, let's say, and they started seeing that it kind of sometimes, if it works for you, maybe not, it will kind of expand and contract on certain corners. The illusion in the middle pieces here, I think you can see as you look at them, but you have to stare at them for a while, and that is a traditional, it's in the public domain, and I called it spectral constellation, certainly to give a nod to Joseph Albers, because he did many works with that exact illusion, and they were called constellations. And constellation is a very important word when you're looking at a cityscape and thinking about color, because, and many artists talk about constellation, putting dots together, like how we look at the constellation in the sky. So again, I'm going back and forth a little bit because I don't want to neglect talking a little bit about Joseph Albers. By the way, I want to dedicate this lecture, if you will, just however small it is, to Irving Finkelstein, Dr. Finkelstein from Georgia State, who's mostly collecting butterflies, but he's having surgery today, and he is a renowned scholar in Albers, and we enjoy a dialogue as we have for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. So I'm sorry he can't be here, but we had a really cool dialogue last night about Albers. So I know he's here, but he'll be getting better, I hope soon. At any rate, why don't we go over here, and I want to talk a little bit about the mascots. And then I'm going to stop and mention a little bit here on this last painting. Again, I've been working on things simultaneously, so I can't say as easily where one body of work leaves off and another one begins. But Martha Whittington, who's a very fine artisan and artist herself, helped me by creating these laminated shapes. And this was the perfect example of kind of recasting something that happened, I guess, with these mystics, I think, at the end of the turn of the last century, when you think of like Annie Besant and Charles Leadbeater, where they would have these people sitting in a room, and this is where these abstractions called thought forms came from, and they would kind of think about something, and they would think it, and there'd be people in the room that would create the images. I was just talking to Martha about depth in a kind of a shape and so on and so forth, and she came up with a prototype, and it couldn't have been more perfect. So she might not be here tonight, but she was at the opening, and so these could not have happened if Martha didn't lend her skills. They come from, maybe the origination point might be here, which looks like the artist's palette. And the palette is very important. If you see the painting that we walk into in the front of the gallery, pick a color, any color, that is the dichotomy of the palette and then how we see now a little paint chip. And we kind of walk away from a sense of order and harmony because we're all walking around with one little soundbite of color. And that was deeply the premise of the show that happened at MoMA called Color Chart. So you can look up that catalog. But mascots have to do too with corporate identity, logo, modern, use of how we sort of attach an obsession or feel more correct if we have certain products. In fact, I think I'll remember it when I talked about this painting. So mascots also had to do about how we are seeing a lot of things that we like to hang on to, like, your Cadillac or something. Things sort of are changing a little bit. Not that you have a Cadillac, maybe some of you do, but So we're seeing a lot of changes, and we become very, how should we say, attached to that. So the idea of a mascot had that quality for me. Plus, I wanted to heighten the different sense of working by using wool felt. And then there's another little agenda, wool felt. It sort of attaches a little idea to the craft, and remembering too that when women were in the Bauhaus, they were more relegated to working with crafts. They were not as welcomed in some of the more high-powered studios, but they still achieved tremendous things, and many of them did arrive at those studios by hook and crook. But it was a little bit arresting when I heard that that was, you know, where they put most of the women were in the textile studios and so on and so forth. So you might see a little bit of playfulness here too with the use of the felt as a kind of emblematic, and it kind of quasi looks like maybe it could relate to something, and they do. And there's a journal that I developed after working with different trademarks, and it was just we're kind of racing through a lot of material. So that's where this work, that's what's involved here. And then because I used wool felt, this is not craft felt, this is wool felt from Holland, and it has a broad range of color. And then I did, if anybody knows, one of the Albers exercises called the transparency. I just was able to, at best I could, to pluck out a shape and then make it look like something's laying right on top of it. So that, I didn't do it to all of them because I was just wanting to do it to the ones I felt deemed it. But if you look a little hard enough, you might see some playfulness with corporate identities. I remember going to a show at the Whitney by Diller and Scafito, is that how you said it? Scafito, okay. And they had in that exhibit, it was the most mesmerizing installation. It was all these corporate logos. It was a projection in the middle of the room in a small installation that was set separate from the room, and every corporate logo was dissolving into every other corporate logo. And you were just hypnotized by it, and I never forgot that. And now that we see the waxing and waning of many corporate and Fortune 500, that's where some of this was done at the same time. One of the last paintings I'll talk about is, I'm not going to have a good explanation for this, but it's called the Enterprise of Nostalgia, and I think that just was so tied to this. And I had this little thing, it's not that. Let's see if I have it. It's here. Let's see if it's here. Nobody didn't use it. Start taking my, no, I got it. My bag, check out my bag. You know how if you took Tide and chopped it up, you'd still see Tide, you know, for those of us here. So if you could chop it up, it would still read as Tide. So that was what's a little latent in this work. But then the others are not maybe as obvious. And then I'm not going to be able to explain this painting to maybe your full satisfaction, but then I somehow wanted to take this image of veneer. So it's the picture, it's a veneer of veneer, and put it somewhere dead center in this work. And you know how you can have these moments where maybe you look at clouds and you see things, and maybe you saw Jesus Christ in that Cheeto, or you know, or maybe you know on the wet spots you see things. But I think that there was something about hearing about the stock market going up and down. Somehow I saw things in the veneer that maybe were just part of that in a playful way. But there's more to it than that. I just was trying to walk into it on some way. At first I had them as maybe 4 canvases. I called that one Against the Tide. This one, The Company You Keep, Goes Down Easy, and Black, White, and Red all over. And I believe that maybe I touched on a little bit of each of the work. And if you saw some of the journals, then you can maybe sort of see where some of this cross-references. So I want to thank everybody for coming and bearing up under this and the heat and trying to stop at an appropriate time. So thank you so much. Try to answer questions, you know, and I hope I didn't, you know, when maybe you try to make it a little, like I tell them that edutainment, then you can run them off. But if you have a question, don't make it hard. Because they're taping this, and just be look there. So if you don't, I'm okay with it. And you can talk to me personally. There is my business card up there, there's a price list, payment plan, whatever. And so enjoy the show.
How much is the time?
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.